This show powered by AgriGold for Central Illinois, your AgriGold reps Brett Lahr. He is your AgriGold reps for Central Illinois. This is the broadcast of Back Roads of Illinois. We are bringing latest agricultural news and markets update on Back Roads of Illinois. Bring you like inside of the markets and interview with people in the agricultural industry for farmers and ranchers in central Illinois and across the Midwest. Today's edition of Back Roads of Illinois, we were Central Illinois agriculture source, and in the Midwest alongside in Central Illinois agriculture, we were glad you're here on a Thursday. We were talking about the commodities markets with John Heinberg from Total Farm Marketing for today's show. Otherwise, we were looking for yields trend look good in Central Illinois. Otherwise, this is your agricultural news on Back Roads of Illinois, sponsored by AgriGold for Central Illinois. This week is slowed down for growing season in Central Illinois near Peoria between Bloomington. They have a freeze temperature for this week. However, this weekend is getting warm up to upper 70 degrees in Central Illinois near Peoria International Airport. Mike Steenhoek from Soy Transportation, he concerned about the shipment of the Mississippi River. It's been really dry and mild weather in the Midwest alongside in the Mississippi River Delta in Tennessee and Arkansas. Monday afternoon, the Department of Agriculture came up with a harvest progress at 47% for the crop progress in Illinois. This is your agricultural news on Back Roads of Illinois, sponsored by AgriGold. We were going to talk about the commodities markets with John Heinberg from Total Farm Market. This is your opening bell numbers of the commodity markets from Kyle Bumstead from Allendale Inc. Corn futures are down at 5 to 10 cents. Soybean futures are down to 4 to 6 cents. Wheat futures are down at 3 to 4 cents. This is your livestock markets update. Cattle futures are down 5 to 10 cents. Feeder cattle are down at 8 to 10 cents. Lean hogs are down at 4 to 5 cents. Crude oil are up to 8 to 9 cents per barrel. Dow Jones are up to We were talking about the commodities markets with John Heinberg from Total Farm Marketing for today's show. Otherwise, the Bears are looking good for right now. However, the Packers has been potentially dangerous team and the Vikings also. Here's our friend John about the commodities.
Afternoon, Caesar. Don't forget about those Lions. They're the defending champs in the division. So the NFC North is a battle zone this year, and the Bears actually are playing pretty good ball. I will admit that. So with that, let's get rolling.
Yeah, let's start with our conversation about the grain and stock for last week. Could you tell our listeners about this?
Sure. We had the USDA report out last week. Obviously, production numbers, WASD numbers, see where we are with the supply demand. Excuse me one second. Sorry about that. Kind of came out of nowhere. Anyway, so let's just kind of review those numbers. pretty much in expectations on the corn side. We did see that corn yield go up a little bit, though. Market didn't want that to happen. But prices, even with the increase in yield, bringing those numbers from the previous grain stocks report, we had carryout come down just slightly under 2 billion at 1.99 billion. So that's a bit of a psychological number. Now we'll see how things pan out. It's talking to people, the amount of bushels they're harvesting kind of makes me feel like that corn yield could go up a little bit further on November's report. So we'll have to see. Obviously, when you got big stockpiles, the demand is still key in the long haul. We got to move this product out. Over on the soybean side, that report still comes in very, very negative. We did get a very small yield cut, maybe again reflecting the weather that we saw at the end of the end of August there into September as harvest started rolling. But with that, there weren't any major changes on the demand supply tables. Carryover is still at 540 million bushels, which is extremely heavy. Add into the fact that now we got some South American weather that's improving, and that's going to that's been putting a lot of pressure on the soybean market because 540 million bushels of carryover is the largest we've had going back to the trade war back in 2018 and 19. So it's a pretty burdensome supply of beans. And that is going to make it very difficult for prices to rally unless we really see some demand kick in.
How was the production numbers from last week?
As I mentioned, again, the corn numbers were up slightly, 183.8 bushels per acre. Soybeans down slightly, 53.1 bushels per acre. No changes in crop production in terms of acreage in that regard. So again, we're seeing kind of the trend, what we're hearing out there from talking to producers. A lot of producers harvesting beans. Felt like they had a really good crop, lost some top end because of that dry weather as we moved in through August, September. I think the USDA reflected that when they didn't change the yield on the August report. That was kind of their way of saying, hey, on the September report, that was their way of saying, we think the bean crop was pretty big, probably larger than 53, and they left it unchanged, taking that, that top end off. On the corn side, like I said, 183.8, again, still a very large yield. And there I'm still just hearing from producers, record crop, big bushels, numbers well above average. Has me a little concerned that yield number may have to go a little bit higher as we get to the end of the year, which could still weigh on that corn market in terms of price just because of supply.
Can you tell us what is going on with the cash market in upper Midwest, like in Wisconsin and in Minnesota for right now?
Right now, cash markets obviously reflecting some of the bushels coming in, and every region is going to be a little bit different. There are some areas that have some softer production or poor production. Obviously, those cash markets will be a little bit more aggressive trying to lock bushels in. But in areas where production is going well, we're already starting to hear chatter of elevators getting full, having a hard time moving the product out. I think that's going to be just something we're going to have to deal with all fall. Soybean harvest is moving along beautifully, 67% done last week. So a lot of those beans are in the pipeline. And, that's been obviously weighing on prices here. Now it's going to be corn's turn. Still got a lot of work to do there. Over half the harvest still to go. And again, those extra bushels are going to come pouring into the marketplace. If the elevators can't move product out, you're going to see that reflect on the cash market. Basis levels moving obviously against the producer, bringing those cash prices down. Again, just a reflection of where we are with this large harvest.
Do you have any concerns about those cash market for Wisconsin?
Obviously with the Wisconsin producers, the biggest part of our side is just the demand side of it and where we go with those bushels. Ethanol plants for corn are still bidding up fairly well, but they've softened some of those bids because they were pretty aggressive in locking in supplies, before we got into harvest because they know they've got good margins right now, so they're taking advantage of those. On top of that, though, again, the cash side of it, a lot of animal feed it comes out of the corn silage side or high moisture corn, which really doesn't hit the marketplace, to feed the dairy industry. So overall here in Wisconsin, it's going to be very regionally based. what you got. We do have an area of Wisconsin that's got some soft production or poor production that we're going to see a good market there for those producers because they're obviously going to be bidding up in order to get bushels to move from areas of good production in Wisconsin, like the southwest corner, and try to get it to maybe the center of the state where we had dealings with those wet conditions this spring.
All right. John, this harvest season is completely done for this year. What we expect for this season?
Well, we still got a little bit to go yet on the harvest side of it. You know, we're not 100% complete.
You're watching for the hogs markets. This markets are trading down.
You know, we've had a heck of a move in the hog market here the last handful of weeks, but we're up challenging some very key points on the charts for that December contract. If you draw a line over the top of the highs, going all the way back to the first trades of the contract life for the December lean hogs, we are up challenging that trend line highs. Now we'll see if we can get through there. Now today we kind of failed at that point today. December hogs actually finished a tick or two lower here after going up and challenging that trend line. So we'll have to see how that kind of plays out. Biggest thing is we're watching the cash index right now. Seasonally, we are steady or sideways trade through the month of September and October for the cash index. Usually the second half of October, we do start trending lower. In fact, today was the first time we've traded under the $84 mark in the lean hog index since going back to I believe the 9th of September. So that shows you how long we've been in that sideways trade pattern. Historically, we see that index come down. That could weigh on that December contract because we really have had a nice rally in the hog market since the July lows without any real major corrections. And maybe the livestock markets, cattle as well, are due for one here in this window.
What is the price of ham and bellies?
You know, ham and pork bellies, I just go with the whole retail price there. You know, we've seen carcasses kind of hold in there very well in the low 90s. That's at least help provide some stability into the cash market. But again, we're watching the seasonal window here. We were hoping to see production in terms of slaughter come back a handful of percentage points. That just does not happen. Weights are manageable, but we're still putting a lot of product into the cooler. Again, some of those things all add up here that can put some weakness into the hog market.
Do you have any final thoughts or recap of our conversation?
You know, it's a busy time of year for producers, and obviously you're out in the field, you're pushing, but don't fall asleep on the marketing side. You know, if you get some pops in a heavy market, like today we saw beans jump very nicely off their lows, might be an opportunity to get some beans that you got to move priced here. So make sure you're on top of those things. Again, there's always different ways to come back into the marketplace and re-own those bushels. You know, but right now, especially in that soybean market, the future in terms of the outlook, in terms of supplies globally, still looks extremely heavy, and it may be very difficult for beans to get much footing here, barring some real changes somewhere in terms of the demand.
Where people can find you for your consulting services.
Sure. Feel free to give me a call, 800-334-9779. Shoot me an email at jonh@totalfarmmarketing.com. Don't forget that website of ours, totalfarmmarketing.com. I know you're busy, but pick up the phone. If you got any questions, love to chat with you, touch base on markets, see if there's anything I can help you out with.
Thanks, John.
Thank you. Have a great day. We'll talk.
This is close bell numbers of the commodity markets from Kyle Bumstead from Allendale, Inc. January feeder cattle dollar dash 225 closing at $243.125. December live cattle dollar dash 425 closing at $186.175. December lean hogs dollar dash 025 closing at $77.675. December corn +2 single quote 0 closing at $4.06 single quote 6. January soybeans +4 single quote 0 closing at $9.98 single quote 0. December Chicago wheat +4 single quote 4 closing at $589 single quote 4. December KC wheat +4 single quote 4 closing at $5.89 single quote 4. Closing quotes provided by Kyle R. Bumstead Branshaw. Thanks to our friends from Allendale for bringing the final numbers of trade. Thanks to John Heinberg from Total Farm Marketing for today's program. We're running out of time on our show, but you can listen to our show wherever you get your podcast. This has been Back Roads of Illinois. I am Cesar Delgado. Have a good day.